After three new scathing lawsuits are dropped yesterday, the lawyer for all three of them speaks out and talks specifically about the assistant that filed one of these lawsuits. This is interesting.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
What's up? Yesterday was crazy, guys. All this new information, three new lawsuits that dropped on Diddy from a completely different lawyer. This guy right here, completely different, not Tony Busby. So this tells you something as well. Not only just that there are 120 people literally lined up to sue Diddy from Tony Busby's law firm, but that there are other people around the country, if not the globe, that are getting ready to file lawsuits against Diddy as well. We can't forget that. It's not only just Tony Busby that's going to be, the people, the person that's going to lead the people to justice, right? To financial justice. There's going to be others as well. And now we're finally meeting three of these accusers' lawyer. He went on to Cuomo. He had some things to say. And we also learned yesterday, that dropped later on yesterday, that one of the three accusers is an actual ex-employee, an assistant of Diddy's that was victimized, that was viciously attacked after he was asking about getting paid for services rendered. Crazy stuff, guys. But I wanted you guys to see this. Let's take a look at this interview here. This says to me a lot. So let's take a look at what he has to say in this interview here. First time ever seeing this lawyer, and he's dropping it like it's hot. Let's go.
The attorney for these three that I just detailed is Thomas Gifford, and he joins me now. Counsel, thank you very much.
Nice to meet you, Chris. Nice to see you again.
You've been doing this a long time.
Yep.
I know you by reputation.
Correct.
You are not known as a shyster lawyer who's chasing a check.
No.
Oh.
First, give us some context.
go.
How many cases have you seen in your life of allegations of men saying that they were drugged and raped?
Very few. I have seen less than 10. But here's a fact.
Wow.
9% of all rapes in the United States of America are men. 9%.
So it's low. And that's only what we know about because, again, culturally, nobody wants to come forward. Women don't want to be shamed by the process.
Right.
Men have even additional layers of some perceived shame. So why did you believe in these cases and why didn't you believe in others that you were presented with?
Well, the thing with a abuser is they follow a pattern. They fall to type, and you become very clear on what that pattern is, particularly a serial sexual abuser. And these cases were all identical in the facts, identical in the story. It was beginning, middle, conclusion.
They know each other?
Boom. None of them knew each
Did you
other.
have them meet?
No.
Did you have them coordinate stories?
No.
Do you think they had any contact with each other before they came to you?
Absolutely not.
Wow.
And when you were talking to them, well, first, the ones that you didn't take, why not?
Stories didn't make sense. Stories didn't fit the pattern. Stories were not credible. I mean, this is my 30th year as a lawyer. I've tried over 100 cases. I can assess whether somebody's story is credible. And if I don't believe it, I'm not going to put my name on a pleading, sign it, and file it in court. I'm not doing that. And that's what I did with the 60 plus cases that I rejected.
Okay. First off, I want to say this really quick before we continue on. Obviously, there's a lot more and there's a couple other questions. One thing I do like about this is that he's clarifying a few things for all of us laymen that are out here that are wondering, how does a lawyer decide to, yes, I'm going to back this person, I'm going to represent this client, and how do they sift through the BS? How do they know to cut through the BS and go, okay, that story isn't really lining up. That's a little wild. The timeline ain't timelining. The math ain't mathing over here, so on and so forth, right? It's not making any sense and all that. He's like, hey, I have a BS meter. I got a BS radar. I can cut through the BS really, really, really fast. I can see if somebody's just trying to get a check or if somebody's actually a real victim. And again, this also shows to you that there are other people more than just those three individuals that have gone to this lawyer's law firm to speak and try to get justice. So again, remember, there are hundreds, I'm sure, if not thousands of people all over, spread across the country right now, that are sitting at law firms right now telling their story. And some of those cases are actually getting picked up because the timeline is timelining. It makes sense. Or those clients actually have proof. That's the big thing, too. They have evidence or something of that sort. And I'm not sitting here saying that all of them do. I'm just saying there's a possibility that that can actually add to the story, back the stories that these clients are putting out here. So that's something that's really big. He's like, hey, I've been in this game for too long to be bamboozled, to be played with. So I can cut through the BS, and I've been picking and choosing the people that I think have a strong argument and a strong case. He also said that these three, and I like what Cuomo asked, hey, have these three known each other? Did they corroborate their stories so that they all sound similar and stuff like that? And he's like, no, 1,000 times no. None of these guys know each other. Completely separate people, completely different scenarios, but they all three have the same pattern. Again, pretty interesting stuff. And this is some serial type ish if all these allegations are indeed true. Let's rock and roll.
And this is not really your area of expertise. If people will look you up, celebrity lawsuits is not really where you make your bones. Why this?
Well, I have handled, I was involved in the Weinstein litigation. Right. I was involved in the Paducah litigation. I was involved in the Hayden litigation. Why did I do this? I do this because it's important. I think it's important for people to be heard, have their chance to get the power back. Because sexual assault is about one thing: taking power, humiliating, demeaning a person and a victim. It has nothing to do with sex. And so I think it's important. I think it's important to get the word out. I think it's important for men to feel, hey, look, I can come out and be heard just like a woman could.
And the defense that, look, they knew what they were getting into. These are regrets. They went there, they partied, and now they see a pocket.
No, I don't think so. One, my client
Were they gay men?
One was bisexual, the other ones were not. And they were going there. The client was bisexual, worked for Diddy. Diddy owed him money for doing errands for him and being his step and fetch, for lack of a better word. And I think it was a power move. It was a clear power move because this guy had the nerve to come to him and say, you owe me money. And so Diddy said, come on to the Intercontinental Hotel. He gives him the drug, knocks him out, him. And I won't use the term that my client used, but he said he tried to turn me into his B word. And I think it was a clear power move on each and every occasion. I think the ones that took place in the Park Hyatt, that wasn't partying. My client met him at a nightclub in the city here with a music producer. He didn't think he was getting into that. The man who was raped in the Hamptons, he thought he was going to a white party. Who wouldn't want to go to a white party? I would have gone to a white party back in the day. I wouldn't go now. But they went there innocently, and this is what happened to them.
I never went. I appreciate you very much.
I'm sorry, Cuomo going, I never went. Like the question wasn't even applied to him. Okay, Cuomo. He didn't ask you the question. He just said, hey, I would have gone back in the day if I knew it was going to be a good time. But now that I know what has happened, hell no, I would never have gone. Right. But still, what's interesting about that information, okay, is that one of them happens to be bi, the other two happen to not be that. The assistant claims to be bi. Then he says this was a power move. This was nothing essual about this. There was nothing spicy about it. It was just about showing that he had power over this man. I think that's a very big deal too. And I know a lot of people are wondering, could this be Farnsworth, Bentley and all that? I don't know about all that. I know everybody's like standing 10 toes down on that theory. Yes, he was his assistant, out there in the early 2000s and all that. But at the same time, let's keep it real. I'm sure Diddy had many assistants that worked for him. It wasn't only just the Fonz. Let's be real. All right. So we'll see. We're going to have to let the the cards play, right? Let the game play out. We got to let the movements happen. You never know. This particular judge might sit there and say these three men have to step forward and expose themselves publicly, not hiding behind a John Doe pseudonym. So anything is possible. But again, he's saying that these men were used to exact some sort of power, not just something to for pleasure, which is very telling in my personal opinion. Again, this is some wild stuff, and the fact that the lawyer has stepped forward and is speaking on behalf of these three individuals says a lot. But it also tells you that there are more individuals that are going to step forward, men and women that are going to be stepping forward, that are going to be represented by other people other than Tony Busby. Again, we just talked about this on the main channel. Tony Busby says that there could be over 300 lawsuits going for Diddy coming from his law firm alone. So imagine how many lawsuits are coming from people all over the country from other individual law firms. Think about that. This is some crazy and wild stuff, but we definitely are going to keep our eyes on this. You know, I got my finger on the pulse of what the hell's going on, but what say you guys? The three men that just filed a lawsuit, their lawyer stepped forward and speaks out. I'm very happy that he did. I appreciate this information because he clarified a lot of things for all of these lawsuits that are getting dropped. Not only just from his law firm, even from Tony Busby and beyond. This is very interesting. I'm interested to see what happens next. Anyway, comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to crush that subscribe button. We'll be talking soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.